This is the Cresco Wealthcast. Just want to say if you've been already supporting the channel, welcome back. Always glad to have you. But if this is your first time, I appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy the podcast. The inspiration is quite simple. I just wanted to bring to light relevant conversations that I've been having with clients as well as things that I'm hearing out on the street. Couple things before we get started. If you wouldn't mind supporting us on the channels at Cresco Wealth Management, that's our Instagram page. And the same, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to our YouTube channel, you can search Cresco Wealth Management. Until then, enjoy the pod. And welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Another episode of the Cresco Wealthcast. Just a reminder that for all of you that are following at the Finance Greek, I am porting the page over to at Cresco Wealth Management. So that is our company page on Instagram. For the podcast here, for the Wealthcast, you can follow us on Spotify. You can follow us on Podbean as well. Pretty much anywhere where you're downloading or streaming your podcasts, we are available. You can also find it on the website, so crescowealthmanagement.ca. Got some other really cool news too. We do have a YouTube channel, and we just put up some video content with a conversation that I had with Dr. Jim Thorne. He's the Chief Market Strategist for Wellington Altus as well. And it was really good. So it was just following after the U.S. election. Really worth the listen. I think it's one of those timeless ones to a degree, so it's not like you missed the boat. Again, if you look up Cresco Wealth Management on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think. It's always a provocative and interesting conversation with Dr. James Thorne. But nonetheless, we'll get to the topic at hand. This month, November, is Financial Literacy Month. And you heard a chuckle in my voice, and I'll get to it. I was really struggling. We wanted to do 2 episodes, and I was really struggling what I wanted to do for the second one. If you heard the episode before, great. If you haven't, go back. The first one was we brought the kids on, and we brought them on to talk about what financial literacy, what finances means to them, and it was a really fun and cute episode. But going into this, I said, well, what do I want to do? There's just so many topics that you could cover, and what would make the cut for financial literacy? And it dawned on me finally in the most unsuspecting place, and that was my parents came over to visit my in-laws, and my wife and other families were there, and we're at the table. And lo and behold, out of nowhere, the topic, of course, of finances and money and contributions come up. So my father-in-law is just recently retired. My father has been retired for some time. And then, of course, here's me, a financial advisor sitting on the corner, of course, the young guy who doesn't know anything, right? Nonetheless, what was the topic of conversation? It was around retirement. It was around contributions. It was around pensions. It was around RSPs. And then they got to the point where they were saying, well, I'd be, I could try to do the accent, but, as to not offend, we'll just do it regular. But the topic was, RSPs are a scam, or this was not the right thing to do, and we should do this and we should do that. And boom, I got inspired for the topic. So Financial Literacy Month, keeping it in context, is exactly just that. What I learned out of that conversation is you have 3 people that are in 3 different stages of their life. One who's been retired for some time, one who is just retired, and another one you could classify being in wealth accumulation, okay? And then you get even further, and the thing that I say dawned on me was the fact that they were talking so definitively about these different types of accounts, and namely was the RSP in this particular situation. But there's 3 different people, 3 different viewpoints, 3 different needs, 3 different requirements. And as the conversation started to go on, and of course it got family heated, if you will, is I had to remind everyone that, again, how we give advice to clients is that it's individualistic. And one of the things that I could say to tail off this Financial Literacy Month from that perspective is this. Everyone is unique. Yes, there is an overarching type of solution, so to speak, or a guideline or something we want to explore. But without getting to know someone's specific finances, specific situation, specific goals, and then juxtaposing that with how we utilize all of these different account types and tools and strategies, you cannot give a blanket approach. The same thing holds true for investment advice. We've all heard that story. Oh, you got to buy this. Oh, my person did this. Oh, this is the way that you got to do it. But without knowing the deep actual impacts or a particular situation, how could someone actually give that advice? So going back, that's what I learned to say, well, RSPs are a scam. And a lot of time you hear the older generation, I say older, from my perspective, I'm allowed to and I will. But a lot of times you see the older generation or those that, in my opinion, it wasn't explained to them properly. And so when they got into a situation, maybe when they needed the liquidity and the taxation wasn't explained to them how it worked, they assumed that they were getting either double taxed or they were supposed to be getting this money out of their RSPs tax free. And then you put that against maybe an investor nowadays. There's a little more education, more resource out there. They don't maybe necessarily have that problem or have that issue. Or if I've even come across where people look at a tax-free savings account and don't know that you can invest in it because the nature of its name, they assumed it was just a savings account so you could hold cash in it. And again, going back, and the whole theme here is the words of wisdom to tail off Financial Literacy Month is it's okay to explore and ask questions because not everything and everyone solution is the same. And that's what was inspired about this conversation here today. You could go on so many different examples. In our world, we deal with percentages. Why? Because that's how we're able to keep things relative in terms of impact, whether it be returns and whatnot. But 3% on $1 million and 3% on $100,000 are two different dollar figures. Yet everyone can typically equate a dollar figure to a purchase or some kind of value. And again, that's where I say be careful. So when we're out there, when we're listening to what people are talking about, when they're giving us that overarching advice or recommendation or the hardline definitive, this is what you have to be doing. Like we all have that friend, let's be honest. We all have that family member or we all have that friend that turn to you and they know everything, right? And they say, this is what you need to be doing. But they never ask any questions. They never get into detail. They never understand your situation. They never understand what's really going on or your goals or what you're trying to achieve. So be careful about blanket advice that we hear that may not pertain, that may not be the best, that may not be, quite frankly, accurate or even true. And so that's where I'll go and say, of course, here at Cresco, we'll entertain all conversations. Okay, whether it's a fit or it's not is not the point. We will always entertain any questions, any conversations, and identify. But when we deal with our clients, we want to keep in constant communication for that reason alone, being ahead of things, understanding in our verbiage or in our model, if you will. We have a reoccurring process where we want to understand the situation. We say dig deeper and review, put the plan into action, all of these different steps that we have internally that we want to adhere to is because things do change from time to time. We're not the same person from a net worth standpoint in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on. And so we cannot look at everything the same. And when we look at overall planning, short, intermediate, and long term, that's why we want to dig deep, make sure that we're implementing the right effective strategies. So with that being said, of course, you can always reach out, have a conversation, have a question, reach out to me directly, reach out to the team. So many wonderful people on the team that are here to help answer those questions. But I thought that this was the most appropriate way to end Financial Literacy Month. There's so much out there. There's so much being thrown at us on TV, the water cooler talk in our circles, within our friends, whatever the case may be, a dinner table between a couple Greeks and a Serbian. And yes, it was exactly as heated as you could imagine, and noise level as you could imagine that could have been. But find out the advice. Find out the accurate advice for you, I should say. Dig deeper. Let's understand. Let's see what we're working with. Ask questions. Understand your situation. All of those things. And not everything is always as it's presented to be to us or applicable to us. And that's why we do it. Again, a thank you for taking the time to listen. This is just my 2 cents and my thoughts for the day. It was just off the cuff. I just decided to come here and hit the record button, so I'm not sure how this is going to sound by the end of it, but I think you'll understand my gist. Financial Literacy Month is something that is highlighted for the month of November. However, I argue, and of course I say that because it's in our business here, it's something that we will entertain all the time. We're big proponents here of education. It's very important for myself. Our industry has done a horrendous job of educating and taking the time to do that. So I'm happy that at least there's a literacy month to help. Follow us on the channels at Cresco Wealth Management on Instagram. Cresco Wealthcast, that's on Spotify as well as Podbean, as well as on our website, CrescoWealthManagement.com. Our YouTube channel, look for Cresco Wealth Management. You'll see our logo. Please subscribe to the channels as well. If you want to follow our newsletters, our market insights, our newsletters, and all of the other communications that we have, you can reach out to me directly if you want to just direct message at Cresco Wealth Management. You can also email me directly. I will have it in the bio, in the description of this podcast here. But again, thank you very much for tuning in. And if you ever have a topic, and on this, that you feel that I should be talking about, do not hesitate to let me know. I get the inspiration from client communications, like you heard today, what I'm hearing on the streets. So I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you very much and enjoy the day. Hope you enjoyed the episode, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Please feel free to leave your comments, or even if you want to let me know topics that you think I should be talking about. Do a couple things before we sign off. Please follow us on our channels at Cresco Wealth Management on Instagram, on YouTube. If you wouldn't mind subscribing to our page, just search Cresco Wealth Management. You'll see our logo. And last but not least, if you want to be up to date with our newsletters, our insights, and even our events that we host throughout the year, you can reach out to me directly. It's pretty simple. You could just go to our website, find me from there, CrescoWealthManagement.com. Thanks again, everyone.